Alhamdulillah wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So, where we last left off here is we left off in the bab of nafaqah. I believe that's correct. And so, of course, nafaqah is one of the abwab that every single person that is a father, that is a husband, even a son, if he has a father that's older, they need to understand this bab and understand it in detail. And we'll talk about who it's obligatory on and some of the different like breakdowns of it in the Shafi'i madhab. But of course, this is very important to learn. And of course, if you have a wife and you ever need her to you want her to encourage you to study, just tell her you're studying this bab, and inshallah she will encourage you to keep studying. She'll give you extra time. And so he says here, Abu Shujaa, he says, Faslun, وَنَفَقَةُ الْمَعْمُودَيْنِ مِنَ الْأَهْلِ وَاجِبَةٌ لِلْوَالِدَيْنِ عمودين عفوا. And he says وَنَفْقَةُ الْعَمُودَيْنِ مِنَ الْأَهْلِ وَاجِبَةٌ لِلْوَالِدَيْنِ. And so here he mentions al-amudain, and he also mentions and then lil-walidaini wal-mawludin. And so, and this is lil-walidina, afwan, it's not on the tathniya, but it's on in the plural. And so this is the nafaqah of, he says here, amudain. Amudain is of the, you would say it's like the fathers. You would say like from the father, like the father, the one that are under him, he's like a pillar for them. And then for the ones that are above him also. So, and what they would say, this is the usul and the furu'. So like the usul, this is such as a person has his mother and father and his grandparents and whatnot. And then there's the furu', and the furu' are his children and his children's children. So like the grandkids that go down. These are the two things that are obligatory when it comes to nafaqah for someone to do, of course, with certain conditions. And he's going to list these conditions, and he says min al-ahl. And what he means here by ahl is this is something that's based on the family connection. So this is based on the fact that this person is a family member and that they are directly related to you, whether it's your parents or their parents, like all the way up, or they're your kids and going down. He says wajibatun lil walidina wal mawludin. And so mawlud is of course the one that's born. It's like the kids, their offspring. And so he says فَأَمَّا الْوَالِدُونَ. And so now he's going to talk about as far as for what is obligatory when it comes to the parents and their nafaqah. He says فَتَجِبُ نَفَقَتُهُمْ بِشَرْطَيْنِ. And so when it comes to parents, like if someone has parents, of course the parents did a lot of like the amount of work that goes into having kids and raising them, and all of the work that goes into paying for their bills and all of these things. Of course, once the parents get older, then they have the right to get nafaqah from their children. And what are the conditions for this? And the one is first is he says here bishartain, and so tajibu nafaqatuhum, like it's someone they have to pay for give them nafaqah, and with two conditions. The first is that they're poor, al-faqr was zamana. And so al-faqr is like that this person is poor. Zamana is like this person has is like that he's old. He has old age and something that weakens him, so he's not able to work as like normally he would be able to work and whatnot, or that he's older in age. So in this case, if there's these two together, and he said if there's these two together where he's poor and he's also in old age, then it's obligatory for his children to pay for him, to give him nafaqah, which is like to pay for his eating, his living expenses, make sure he has a place to live, and also for the things that he needs, like that are necessities and whatnot, according to of course their ability. But if he is poor and he's old, when these two things come together, this is one of the conditions. Or the other one is awil faqr wal junun. So what if he's senile? Like he's not just old and like not able to work properly, but he's also, or like he's senile. So if he's older, or if he's not older here, and just say that this person is maybe the person is only 30 years old, and like he has kids, or he's like 35, and he has kids below him that are able to work and whatnot, and and he is actually majnoon, like something happened to his mind, and he is now he is now insane. So if he's poor and insane, then he has to also he has to, or like it's obligatory for his kids to give him nafaqah. Alright, so we left off, we're talking about the two conditions for the nafaqah to be obligatory for, and he says nafaqah to whom? Here it would be the mudaf is to the maf'ulun bihi. So occasionally there's mudaf that is mudaf ila al-fa'il, and here it's mudaf ila maf'ulun bihi. Like nafaqah is mudaf lil maf'ulun bihi, like to the people that it's obligatory for them, and it's obligatory on the kids to pay for them. And so then he says here, as far as the kids and what's obligatory in their rights, he says وَأَمَّا الْمَوْلُودُونَ and فَتَجِبُ نَفَقَتُهُمْ بِثَلَاثِ شَرَائِطَ. And so he says, as for the kids, then their nafaqah, like for the father to pay for them, is and whatnot, this is obligatory with three conditions. And so the first one he mentions here, al-faqr was-sighar. So the fact if the kid is poor, of course, like this poorness also goes to the fact that he's not able to work. And so if the we'd say like for the first or for all these categories, when we talk about poorness, there is a poorness that comes from this person not having any money currently, but he has an ability at any moment. He has a skill set where he can make money at a drop of a hat. Like he could go, say he's got like online design, or he's got computer design skills, and he could just pick up a job and make money right as soon as he wants to. This person, even if he doesn't have any money right now, he's not considered faqir. Like he's not considered poor because he has an ability to get money at any time. And this is, so you'd say that this person is ghani, either bil fi'l or bil quwwa. And so like that this person is either he is rich by means of that he has the actual money with him, or he has the means to get the money at any time. So this person that has the means to get the money at any time, he's able-bodied to work, and he's able to find the work. And in this point, he wouldn't be poor. But say here, he mentions here in all of this, in this whole chapter, this is important to understand. The poorness is something that isn't just about does he have the money now, but we're also looking at does he have the ability to make money right away. And that's another thing. So he says here, al-faqr was-sighar. So if the person is poor and they're young, like they're not able to work yet. Like of course they're young and they haven't had the ability to get work. And also this when it comes to like a person working, what is the sighar here that is considered, and what is going to be, like how young is like that youngness that considers it. We're looking at normally in the society, when is he able to be considered a providing person for himself? Like he can provide for himself. He has the skills to do this. And of course, way back in the day, this was something that like a teenager that's in his early teens probably could be there. Like he could probably pay for himself. But in this day and age, of course, with the amount of work that is available and the actual amount of skill sets that someone has to get before they can even be considered for a decent job, we also have to take this into consideration. So the environment does have an effect on what we consider sighar here, like the youngness. So of course, like an environment now, of course, a kid that hasn't gone to at least high school education and something to develop a skill set, then he would still be considered young and not able, or at least faqir, because he's not able to provide properly, because he needs that skill set. And of course this can vary from place to place. So maybe someone, and they know how to they learned mechanics and whatnot, and they can be a car mechanic and get money that they need. So okay, yes, this person is not faqir and sighar, but it could change depending on the person and the time and place. And then the second of the conditions he mentions here, he says awal faqr was zamana. And so of course if the kid is old and senile, like and the father is still he has money, and like he's old too, of course, older than him, but the kid is older and he's in old age, and so he has a lot of or chronic illness. And zamana would be more like a chronic illness, and so like if the kid is poor and has a chronic illness, then this would also be something that would mean that his father needs to pay for him and to pay for his living expenses and whatnot. And also he says here, awal faqr wal junoon, and like the chronic illness would be, of course, even more so the one who is insane. So if you have like a kid that is insane, that kid has to have his nafaqah, and regardless, the rest of his life, he needs to be paid for. And of course, this is like looking out for his goodness and whatnot. And of course, there's certain details. If someone doesn't have the money to pay for them, then there's things that they can go around and do that. And of course, they can, like, if the kid is going to grow up and he doesn't have the money now, he can get a dain for him, and then he can pay it back later, and ask him for that. But this is in general, for these first two categories. These categories, we look at the money that is needed to pay, to cover that person's living expenses, like his necessities, like his needs and his necessities for someone like him. And this is what is obligatory. If he doesn't pay it, and the time goes past in these two categories, or in the next couple categories, not the categories of the wife, but in these categories, if he doesn't pay for the nafaqah, and this person say he's hungry, or he was supposed to pay for him but he didn't, is this a dain is this a debt that he has to pay back afterwards, or no? No, it's not a debt that this person that didn't pay for what he was supposed to pay for, it's not a debt on him, but he is atham for not doing what he was supposed to do, as opposed to the wife. That is different. We'll talk about that inshallah. And he also says here, وَنَفَقَةُ الرَّقِيقِ وَالْبَهَائِمِ وَاجِبَةٌ. And he also says here, in the nafaqah for raqiq, which is of course a slave, and like any of the slaves, and also the baha'im, which are any of the animals and whatnot, this is also obligatory. So someone needs to pay to make sure that they're if they had like a slave and whatnot, they would need to make sure that he eats to his fill, and so that the slave should eat to its fill and whatnot. And this also, the next thing that he says here, وَلَا يُكَلَّفُونَ مِنَ الْعَمْلِ مَا لَا يُطِيقُونَ. And so he also says that they're not burdened with work that is something that they can't do. And like, what is the amount that they can do? Like, say someone, if they worked a certain job, they could do this job for maybe 1 or 2 days, and then they would be worn out after that, and they couldn't do it more than like 1 or 2 days. In this case, this is more than they can do. Like when they talk about مَا لَا يُطِيقُونَ, this is بِاسْتِمْرَارٍ عَلَى الدَّوَامِ, like that in general, this person can do this thing consistently for the rest of his life. So if they ever go over this, then this is dhulm. So if they ever, same thing, like if you have an animal that you're working with, and you run it really, really, really hard in a way that it can't consistently do this every single day, then in this case, then this is dhulm on that animal, and it needs to be treated only with something that it can take consistently. And of course, for if someone is looking into like when they're reading the books of the Shafi'i madhab, and they want to look at where are animal rights are in this chapter. So like when we have bab al-nafaqah, most of the times you'll find like the animal rights, where they talk about what are the rights of the animals when it comes to eating, what are the rights when it comes to how we deal with them, how we shouldn't just kill them for no purpose. This is going to be discussed in this chapter. And of course, he's not going to go into great details here, but occasionally people will wonder, where are these certain topics hidden in the rest of like the chapters of fiqh, but you'll find that in this chapter, inshallah. And he also says here, وَنَفَقَةُ الزَّوْجَةِ الْمُمَكِّنَةِ مِنْ نَفْسِهَا وَاجِبَةٌ وَهِيَ مُقَدَّرَةٌ. So here he's going to talk about, so the first type of nafaqah was for the usul wal furu', like for the parents all the way up to grandparents and all of them, and then all the way down for the furu', which are the kids and their kids. And so then, and that is a nafaqah that is obligatory because of the bond of qaraba, like that bond that is that nasab between you and them. So the fact that they are a part of your family, this is what makes it obligatory. And when it comes to this, and in this particular meaning here, he says, وَنَفَقَةُ الزَّوْجَةِ, so like the nafaqah that needs to be paid for the wife, al-mumakkina min nafsiha. And this is a key point that he gives here. So the woman that is actually mumakkina means like that she's making herself available to her husband. she's making herself available to her husband, wajiba. So the one that doesn't make herself available to her husband, or she's say she's nashiza, so she refuses to be with her husband or give him his sexual rights from her. In this case, she has no nafqa. She has no it's not obligatory for him to pay for anything from her. But if she makes herself available to him, then in this case he has to do this. And this is because the nafqa itself is muqabala litamkin. And so like this nafqa is something that is in response or in repayment for her making herself available to him. So say she got married to a man and she's still living with her father, and she hasn't made herself available to him yet. In this case, there's no nafaqah that's obligatory on the husband to pay for his wife until she makes herself available to him. And then in this case, then she would mean then the nafaqah would be obligatory on him, and with this condition. And so he says, وَهِيَ مُقَدَّرَةٌ. And so here he says also the nafaqah itself is muqaddara, like this is the actual amount. And this is something the Shafi'i, they go into the actual amount that the woman should have, and they go to some of these details, and some of these details in this day and age, maybe we it wouldn't necessarily, it would actually go against the urf, like they would go against the customs of the land to only stick with this thing. So like he's going to give the details here. I'll read it here, and I'll give a couple notes on it. So he says, فَإِنْ كَانَ الزَّوْجُ مُوسِرًا فَمُدَّانِ مِنْ غَالِبِ قُوتِهَا. And so he says, if the zoj is musir, and so the zoj is either able, like musir is like the person that has the ability, he's wealthy and he's able to pay for her, and it's easy for him, and he has the money, and he's not tight on his finances. In this case, then he needs to give her 2 muddan, like the muddani, which is of course I mentioned before, like mud, like roughly speaking, it's like a handful of grain, and this is, he says, muddani min ghalibi qutiha. So like whatever the natural or like the normal grain is in that village or like that place wherever she is, this is the thing that she gets 2 mud every single day, and this is her nafaqah when it comes to food. And also he says وَيَجِبُ الْأُدْمُ وَالْكِسْوَةُ مَا جَرَتْ بِهِ الْعَادَةُ. And udm is something that goes along with bread. Like something, normally when someone is eating bread, they will eat it with something. They just can't eat bread, and you can't expect that a wife is going to live off of bread and water, with nothing else. Like jam, maybe like jam is something that would be considered udm. Or also like butter or semen, like some types of like fats and whatnot, or other types of things. Anything that is eaten normally with bread, this is what is considered udm. And so he mentions that the 2 things when it comes to the food is muddani, which is like the 2 like big handfuls of the qut, which is qut could be grain, and it also could be it could also be something that is such as like tamar, and also he mentions and the udum as well. And when it comes to food, a lot of the the shuyukh that are mu'asir, they talk about this particular issue. And some of them say, like, in this day and age, it's better for someone, if the normal aada is for them to eat meat, and this is the normal thing, then they should also include this and make sure that the food that is normally available to someone of her status, or like this, that her family would normally eat and whatnot, this is something that is obligatory. So we're not just looking at the fact that I gave you your 2 mud of rice and whatnot, but like that it needs to actually be something that is normally eaten. And also the udum, this changes from time to time. So like in some days this is like fruit, so like having fruit and whatnot, and so like different fruit at different times. So like now in Egypt, of the things that are around are like teen, and so we have like teen that is normal here. We also have other fruit such as like mango is going to come up, so making sure that she has mango, or whatever is the normal thing of that time and place, we would take this into consideration, as opposed to something that's out of season that wouldn't necessarily be obligatory. And then the next thing after the food part, he says wal kiswa, and kiswa, and he says ma jarat bihi al-'ada. And the kiswa is the clothing, and so like she needs to be clothed, and this happens every single season. So the season, like they usually break it up into the 6 months. And so when it comes to each season, it's obligatory for the husband to buy her clothes for this, such as a pair of pants, or like sarawil, and also like a abaya, and something that is normal there, as well as like the khimar. Every single season, then she has this obligatory on him. It's obligatory for him to pay to buy her one of these things that are new, even if what she has is still working, like it's still fine, and she hasn't even used it. Say she put it in the closet, like you bought her the clothes for that season, and she put it in the closet. She hasn't even used it. She has tons of clothes now. It's been like 3, 4, 5, 7 years. She has tons of clothes, and she only uses just a little bit. She still, every single season, she gets a new pair of clothes, and this is something that, of course, he says here, ma jarat bihi al-aada. So you take into consideration what is the normal customs of the people when it comes to what type of clothes that she actually wears. And so in some of the books, they will give like a sense, like in the shuruh, and they will give a sense of what are these types of clothes. And of course, for winter time, then this also we consider the winter time is different. So like for winter time, we need to make sure that she gets a winter coat, something that keeps her warm in the winter, as well as like gloves and the things that are normally that she needs to have to keep herself warm in the winter. And so this is also something that you have to take into consideration as well. And say the man, he doesn't with all of these things, say he doesn't pay for this, or he doesn't do this for her. This is a dain in his account, because she is making herself available to him, and in response to this, he's paying for her nafaqah. And so this is a give and a take. So if he doesn't give, and she's giving, in this case, and she's made herself available for him, then this that he hasn't paid is a dain on him, and he needs to pay it back. This is a debt that he has to pay back, from what has passed him if he hasn't paid this for her. And of course, like this is daily. When I mentioned the muddani min ghalibi kutiha, this food is daily, so it's mentioned every single day. If she's not nashiza and she's making herself available to the husband, in this case it's obligatory on a daily case for him to give her those two the two mud, and and the author here in he mentions on the Muhashi, he mentions that this is 600 grams. So like this is a mud is around 600 grams every single day that he would give to her for that kuta, the normal kuta of the balad of that place. And so also he mentions here, when can a mu'siran, and a mu'sir is the person who is not du usr, like that he doesn't have a lot of wealth. In this case, it's only one mud. So in the first person was 600, he would be like 300 grams. I mean, غالب قوت البلد وما يتدم به المعصرون ويكسونه. And so also he says here, and also for the as far as when it comes to the udum, like this is the people that are poor, what they eat in regards to alongside of bread and whatnot. What do they eat alongside of bread? You look at what is a poor person of that time and place. What are they normally doing? Then this is what they would have that's obligatory on them. And he also says the same thing, وَيَكْسُونَهُ. And so also that he would also clothe her according to his ability, and according to like the aida of him, and also the people that she's like from, like looking at her family and his ability to pay for them. And of course, like the amount of clothing, so that they'll say the amount of clothing for each fasal, or like for each season. There is a certain number. Like she gets one pair of sarawil, and she gets she gets a kamis, and she also gets a khimar, and these other things. These are one. And so like if the person is wealthy, then he gets her a good pair that's like from high quality. That's from a quality that is suitable for that. In the normal culture, what would be considered proper for a woman of her status and what he has available in his wealth. And then when it comes to someone who's not able, that's poor, then he still needs to give her the same number. He can't say, I'm only going to get you one of these things. I'm not going to give you a khimar this time. No, he has to give her a khimar, but when he gives her a khimar, he gives her one that's cheaper. So he just and gets the quality is what changes here, but the quantity needs to stay the same, but the quality is what differs when it comes to kiswa. So the quality differs from a person who is wealthy or the person that is poor. And he also mentions here, وَإِنْ كَانَ مُتَوَسِّطًا فَمُدْ وَالنِّصْفُ وَمِنَ الْأُدْمِ وَالْكِسْوَةِ الْوَسَطُ. And so he mentions here, if the person is mutawassit, like in the he's like a middle class. In this case, it would be 1 mud and a half. This is what is given, and also for the udum and the kiswa, this is something that is in the middle, like a medium status. And of course, all of this comes back to the culture. We look back at the ada of the people to figure out where is somebody in this, and of course, the view of the Shafi'i madhab is that this is set with this amount every single day, and of course the majority of the ulama, they go and they look at the urf, and this is what really calls the shots in this issue. So and the majority of the ulama, they don't look at a certain number of how much grain you weighed out for her for that day. Most of them don't do this, but the Shafi'i madhab, they do this, and this is how they look at it. As far as the quds, it needs to be mud or muddain or mud wa nis for the person that's in between. And then he says here, وَإِنْ كَانَتْ مِمَّنْ يُخْدَمُ مِثْلُهَا فَعَلَيْهِ إِخْدَامُهَا. And he also mentions here, and if she is of the type that normally someone of her status is has someone who serves her, such as like if she needs if it would be like if they would have a slave, like a servant that would work for her. In this case of her caliber, then he needs to also give her this. Like he needs to give her a servant to do this. And in this day and age, of course, we don't have slaves. But if someone normally of that class and caliber, they wouldn't be running around their house doing all of these things. And it would be, or like even for themselves, taking care of themselves and like taking care of their clothes and whatnot. Someone of this caliber is not going to do this. Then it would be upon him to have him pay for someone to do these things for her, to clean the house for her, to do this other stuff for her. And then the Shafi'i madhab is of the view that it's not upon the woman to do any of the housework. It's not upon her to do any of these chores. Her only thing that is upon her is for her to make herself available to the husband and make sure that she doesn't leave the house. This is what's upon her. And so if she does these two things, making herself available for her husband and not leaving the house, in this case, then all these other things should be done for her. And if she wants to do things from herself and go out there and clean the house from her own goodness, this is her own charity. But it's on the husband himself, and he can't force her to do this thing. And this is the view of the Shafi'i madhab in this matter. And of course, there's other views from like the Hanbali or the Ahnaf. They have a different view on this. They say like normally we look at what is the normal type of service and whatnot. And so the next thing that he goes into, he says, وَإِنْ أَعْسَرَ بِنَفَقَتِهَا فَلَهَا فَسْخُ النِّكَاحِ. And this is also another thing that he mentions here. So if, say, this man is not able to take care of her nafaqah, then like what is obligatory on him, like that part that is obligatory on him, if he can't do even that part that is obligatory on him, in this case, she has the ability to dissolve the marriage. فَلَهَا فَسْخُ النِّكَاحِ. And so she can go to a qadi and say and prove that he hasn't been paying the nafaqah and whatnot, and then from this point there can be like he'll be either given the choice to pay back what he needs to pay and like to pay for her, or if he can't do this, then he would have to divorce her, or it'd be forced upon him to do that. And so in this particular masala is something that it can create some fitna in this day and age. So this is not necessarily the thing that we want to go out and telling the whole world, because a lot of women will take this and they will carry it to the wrong conclusion, and they'll burden their husbands that are doing a lot of good hard work for them. They'll burden them, and then at the end of the day just want to leave them, because they didn't get everything that they want. And of course, this is something that it is something that is talked about, but also it shouldn't be abused, as some people have been abusing it in this day and age, particularly with the woman herself, she will go work a job and she'll do all this, that, and the other, and then at the end of the day, she'll ask for way more than what she needs. And when her husband can't give her everything that she needs, she asks for divorce and goes to a qadi and asks him to dissolve the marriage and whatnot. This is la yanbaghi. But at the same time, like, this is, yes, of course, the husband. This is his duty, is to pay for the wife's expenses and what is known in ma'ruf. And if he doesn't do that, then of course, yes, this is a possible outcome if she asks for it and goes to the qadi and whatnot to do that. He also says here, وَكَذَلِكَ إِنْ أَعْصَرَ بِالصَّدَاقِ قَبْلَ الدُّخُولِ. So also this, she can ask if they got married and he didn't enter in upon her and consummate the marriage yet. So if he's not able to pay for the actual the mahr, if he can't pay for the mahr, she can hold herself from him. She can say, no, I'm not going to give you myself until you give me the mahr. And so if she holds back herself until he gives her the mahr, this is obligatory for him to give her the mahr before she gives him herself, or this is her right, I could say. And so if she says, I'm not going to give you myself until you give me the mahr, and then he doesn't give her the mahr, then she can ask for the marriage to be dissolved. This is, of course, with the agreement beforehand that the mahr was not going to be delayed. If it was going to be delayed, then she already agreed to it being delayed. But if it wasn't agreed to be delayed, then in this case, she has the ability to dissolve the marriage before the consummation, if he's not able to pay for the sadaq. And so this is the bab that he brings up here. It has to do with nafaqah, and of course it's important that someone understands this. And some of the details, inshallah, it's good for someone to look into some of the details as well, and like some of the bigger shuruh when it comes to like what is obligatory on the person in regards to those who are around him, and in this. All right, inshallah, we'll go on to the next the fasl here. And so the next fasl that he mentions here is, he says, وَإِذَا فَارَقَ الرَّجُلُ زَوْجَتَهُ وَلَهُ مِنْهَا وَلَدٌ فَهِيَ أَحَقُّ بِحَضَانَتِهِ إِلَى 7 سِنِينَ. So he says here, if the man separates from his wife, like, so if he's divorced, if he divorces his wife and she has a son from him, or like any kid from him, like she has a kid, then she is the one who is ahaqqu bi hadwanatihi. She is the one that is most rightful. And hadwana here is like you'd say like custodianship, or like she's the one that has the right to take him into custody. She's the most rightful person with that. And this is for the one that is under 7 years old. He says, ila 7 sinin. So like until the kid is 7 years old, then his mom is the one who's the most rightful for them to be with. And of course this is with certain conditions as well. And he'll mention this at the end. But she is the one who is the most rightful to have this kid under her custody. And this doesn't mean that the kid doesn't have visitation rights. Like the kid would have visitation rights for his, like if it was say this was a son, and then he would need to learn things from his father, and his father has the right to take him through for the day to teach him things of a man, and to teach him how to be a man and whatnot. This is not something he's going to get from his mother. So of course this is something for the husband to, or not a husband, but for the father to take, and he can then take him for the day, and then he returns him at night. And this is a part of the custodianship, that this doesn't take away from her custodianship from the kid himself, but he has the right, but the father has the right to take him for the day to teach him the things of a man, and then he can give him back after that. Also he says here, ثُمَّ يُخَيِّرُ بَيْنَ أَبُوَيْهِ. Then at 7 years old, he says, إِلَى 7 سِنِينَ. He says here, so he says here for 7 years old, that once he gets up to 7 years old, then after this he would be given the choice, like this kid would be given the choice to choose between his parents. Who do you want to be with? And this can be done once, it can be done twice, anytime he wants to choose whatever parent he wants to be with. This is the kid's choice. And so, and then whoever he chooses, فَأَيَّهُمَا اِخْتَارَ سُلِّمْ إِلَيْهِ. And then he would be given to the one who he chooses. Whoever he chooses, then this is the one that he would be with. And so he mentions here that after 7 years, then he would be given the choice to choose whoever he wants of the parents. He wants to be with mother, he gets to be with the mother. He wants to be with the father, he can be with the father. And it's however he wishes. And so then he's going to mention the conditions for the hadana. The hadana is like the custodianship, or this comes from like the hudun. Hudun is like the chest of the mother, like you would consider, or like the place that he would, and like someone would hold them. And so of course like the hadana is the meaning like custodianship, or like the caretaking, who gets them. And so he mentions here وَشَرَائِطُ الْحَضَانَةِ سَبْعٌ. So he has 7 conditions to be in the hadana, or like to have the right of this. And so this is for the mother, of course, and also for the other ones. But looking at the mother, she's the one who's the most rightful of this. And so she needs, if she is the most rightful for this, she needs to have accomplished these conditions here. And the first one is aql. So like the woman has to, she can't be majnoon. If she's majnoona, then like of course she has no right being the caretaker. Like someone who's majnoona has no right. And then of course she's not going to know how to take care of the kid in the first place, and be responsible for that. Then the next one, which is وَحُرِّيَّةٌ, and also the woman needs to be free. She needs to be a free woman. And also the next one he says here, وَالدِّينُ. And so the woman, she also needs to have, she needs to be Muslim, like she needs to be a Muslimah, and that and this also goes for the man. If the man was going to take her and take the kid into custody, of course he needs to be Muslim as well. So if you have a murtad, the murtad has no right to a kid. And so like this is also important, that the person has that deen. And of course, because there's no wilaya of a non-Muslim over another Muslim. It's like there's no power of a non-Muslim over another Muslim. This is something that's only for the Muslims themselves. And so then he mentions here, then the next one after, iffa. And so also the woman needs to be, if like say this is a woman or a man, they need to be, they need to actually be protecting themselves from zina and whatnot. They can't be someone who is in a terrible state of that. And also what he says, amana. And the next one, which is amana, which is trustworthiness. So the man or the woman, they need to be trustworthy when it comes to hadana. If they aren't, then this takes away their right to having the custodianship over this kid. And of course, this means like that the person is not like they're not like evil or doing evil things with that kid, and that kid is safe and in a trustworthy place. And also he mentions here iqama. And iqama is that say you have the kid. The kid was grown up in a certain land, or like in a certain city. So he's in this city, and then the parents divorced. All right, so the parents divorced. If this woman wants to have custodianship, she can't leave the city with the kid. She can't take the kid away from his father and go to another land and still want to have custodianship of this kid. No, if she does this, and the same thing for the man can't do the opposite of this either. If they leave from the place that they broke up in that place where the kid is, in this case they lose their right for the hadana, because this is like taking them away from their family and their community and whatnot. And so of course like the kid, as I mentioned before, if he's a son and whatnot, then he has the right for his father to take him and teach him the things of a man, like to teach him all of the things that a man needs to know in life. And so if the woman were to go out, she would be robbing the husband, or like the previous husband and the father. She would be robbing the father of his right to see the kid and to teach the kid what he needs to learn. So in this case, the iqama, which is the fact that they're both in the same place, that they don't leave that land or that city. This is also another condition for that hadana to be there, or for it to be obligatory. And he also mentions here, khuluwu min zawjin. And this is also another important thing. For the woman, if she gets married again, then in this case, she would not have the right to keep her kid. So if she gets married to another man, then the man would have more right to raise his own child than to let his child be raised by another family. Like of course, by his mother is one thing, but his mother and another man coming into the equation, in this case, it takes away the right of the custodianship that would be for the woman in general. And so he says here, فَإِنْ اقْتَلَّ مِنْهَا شَرْطٌ سَقَطَتْ. So if any one of these shurut, if they go away, then of course like the right goes away for hadana. And this is the chapter about hadana. Any questions about this? All right, inshallah, we'll call it for here. And I think we're about to go into Maghrib and now, and If you want, we can come back after Maghrib, or if you want to call it for today, that's fine as well.
We can come back if that's what's going to be.
All right, inshallah, we'll come back after Maghrib, and we'll start up with yeah, good. If you guys are with me, we'll keep it going.
Yeah.
All right, after Maghrib, inshallah, we'll come back and we'll start up with Jinayat, inshallah. All right. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.